little." The girl hung her head unhappily. Her straight, greasy hair fell forward over her face. "I know," she muttered. "I know." He looked at her, stained old jersey, the bare feet, the dirty toenails, the smell of rancid fat. He wondered why he found her so maddeningly attractive. Miss Marple wondered too. And really, to have sex experience urged on you exactly as though it was an iron tonic. Poor young things. "My dear Aunt Jane, why must you bury your head in the sand like a very delightful ostrich, all bound up in this idyllic rural life of yours? Real life, that's what matters." Thus Raymond and his Aunt Jane had looked properly abashed and said, yes, she was afraid she was rather old-fashioned. Though really rural life was far from idyllic. People like Raymond were so ignorant. In the course of her duties in a country parish, Jane Marple had acquired quite a comprehensive knowledge of the facts of rural life. She had no urge to talk about them, far less to write about them, but she knew them. Plenty of sex, rape, incest, perversion of all kinds. Some kinds, indeed, that even the clever young men from Oxford who wrote books didn't seem to have heard about. Miss Marple came back to the Caribbean and took up the thread of what Major Palgrave was saying. "A very unusual experience," she said encouragingly. "Most interesting."
"I could tell you a lot more. Some of the things, of course, not fit for a lady's ears."
With the ease of long practice, Miss Marple dropped her eyelids in a fluttery fashion, and Major Palgrave continued his bowdlerized version of tribal customs, whilst Miss Marple resumed her thoughts of her affectionate nephew. Raymond West was a very successful novelist and made a large income, and he conscientiously and kindly did all he could to alleviate the life of his elderly aunt. The preceding winter she had had a bad go of pneumonia, and medical opinion had advised sunshine. In lordly fashion, Raymond had suggested a trip to the West Indies. Miss Marple had demurred, at the expense, the distance, the difficulties of travel, and at abandoning her house in St. Mary Mead. Raymond had dealt with everything. A friend who was writing a book wanted a quiet place in the country.
"He'll look after the house all right. He's very house-proud."
He went on to deal with the next points. Travel was nothing nowadays. She would go by air. Another friend, Diana Horrocks, was going out to Trinidad, and would see Aunt Jane was all right as far as there. And at St. Honoré, she would stay at the Golden Palm Hotel, which was run by the Sandersons. Nicest couple in the world. They'd see she was all right. He'd write to them straight away. As it happened, the Sandersons had returned to England, but their successors, the Kendalls, had been very nice and friendly and had assured Raymond that he need have no qualms about his aunt. There was a very good doctor on the island in case of emergency, and they themselves would keep an eye on her and see to her comfort. They had been as good as their word, too. Molly Kendall was an ingenuous blonde of 20-odd, always apparently in good spirits. She had greeted the old lady warmly and did everything to make her comfortable. Tim Kendall, her husband, lean, dark, and in his 30s, had also been kindness itself. So there she was, thought Miss Marple, far from the rigours of the English climate, with a nice bungalow of her own, with friendly, smiling West Indian girls to wait on her, Tim Kendall to meet her in the dining-room and crack a joke as he advised her about the day's menu, and an easy path from her bungalow to the seafront and the bathing beach, where she could sit in a comfortable basket chair and watch the bathing. There were even a few elderly guests for company. Old Mr. Raphael, Dr. Graham, Canon Prescott and his sister, and her present cavalier, Major Palgrave. What more could an elderly lady want?